Just let her know. If she's not in there, just sit in there.
So I want to thank Mrs. Feldman for having us this morning. She gave a little bit of an introduction, but I'll kind of go maybe a little bit further. This is Scott. He's kind of a specialist musician. He's been playing violin since he was 4 technically, but he was given a little bit of instruction even at 3. Sarah, who goes to school here, as you know, she was in her previous school, she did bells in kindergarten, she did soprano ukulele in grades 2 and 1, and baritone ukulele in grade 3, and you were in vocal choir in 4 and up. Okay. She's my daughter, I should know these things, but she's also kind of like my secretary. She keeps me straight. And then in 5th grade, you started bell choir?
Yes.
Okay, so she's been reading music for a little while. At home, we do recorder, bass, guitar, viola, and I'm the hack musician in the group. I haven't really had a lot of professional training. I had a few piano lessons in 3rd grade. I really wanted to play guitar. I started playing guitar when I was about 10. When I was in my late teens and early 20s, I played in the local clubs and traveled a little bit with a band in the early 1990s. And more recently, I've come to do orchestral music, and so that's where we are with that. So I understand that you guys are learning instrument groups like woodwinds and brass and percussion and things like that. Is that right? Yes? Okay. And so today, Mrs. Feldman invited us because we do strings and you guys didn't have a lot of access to strings. Our group started about a year ago, and so I'm still kind of new to strings, but I've in orchestral strings. But you know, stringed instruments, the way that they make sound, it's really kind of interesting. A lot of people think that when you play the string that you're actually hearing the string, but what you're hearing is the wood. So when you play the string, the vibration of the string goes through the bridge and to this big piece of wood here. And so like pluck one of your strings. See how that sounds small because it's a small piece of wood? And that sounds big because it's a big piece of wood. Play your high note. See, he has the smallest piece of wood. It makes the smallest sound. Not small from a volume perspective, but high. So he plays what you guys understand as a treble clef. And then I'm not gonna draw this well, I'll tell you that. I'm not really very good at that. But like what I play is is that right? The bass clef kind of does that. Yeah. And then I might make Sarah draw. Sarah has a specialized instrument, and she plays the alto clef. So her middle C is here. My middle C is just above this line, and his middle C is just below this line. So let me make sure I've got my notes here straight. I'm not used to being an instructor, so I'm just going to sit if that's okay. So did you know that even the piano is a stringed instrument? How many of you people knew the piano was a stringed instrument? So there's a harp inside of the box, and when you play the piano, there's tiny little hammers that hit the strings. And so what you're hearing is the vibration of strings, which is transferred into the piece of wood that's in the piano, and you hear that vibrating. So when I'm going to borrow one of the guitars over here just a second. And I hope it's in tune.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I guess we'll find out.
The middle school uses the guitars. I teach ukulele.
I guess that's what you get, right? If you've ever noticed with a guitar, you have lots of strings when you play them, and it usually sounds better than that. But you play them all at the same time, and you get what's called a fast decay. So you hit them, and they just kind of die. And that's why when people play the guitar, they have to constantly be playing it to sort of keep it going. And with the orchestral instrument, there's two big differences. One is the orchestral instruments play one note at a time, so it requires all three of us playing together to make a chord. And with the bow, it sort of works the string constantly, so you don't have to continually strum, but you do have to continually. And your teacher told me that you guys know John Williams, so you've probably heard that before.
What's that?
Jaws.
Yep.
So if you're ever in the house and you hear that, you need to stay away from the bathroom.
That's right.
So anyway, the bow kind of keeps the sound going. It makes it, so that it's sustained all the time. You don't have to keep hitting it. You're sort of vibrating it by the rosin in the bow slips and catches and lets it move around. And let's see, how much did I cover there? So I went over the clefs, I talked about strings in terms of how they make sound. Oh, and so when you group instruments together, typically with strings, you don't often hear a violin play just by itself, where sometimes people will get up in front of a group and do just a guitar piece or just a guitar and singing piece. Normally you're going to have multiple instruments playing together, so you would have a violin and a viola, or a violin and a cello, or three people like us, or bigger groups where you have lots. And then the more people that you have, the bigger the sound is, the more beautified it is. And Scott plays the part that when you're listening to a song and you remember it, it's the part that you tend to hum. The piece that we just did, Joyful, Joyful, you might go around going, da, 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 da. And that's the part that you remember. Now with the bass or the cello, which the bass and the cello are kind of very close to each other, I play supporting notes that's almost like, if you think about music, the way that a house is structured, he plays the top part that you see. I play the part that's underneath it that kind of holds it up. And I have a lot of fun when we do arrangements playing with Sarah's music, because Sarah's a girl and she gets to play the pretty part. She plays all the harmony. So, I try to, when I do an arrangement, most of the arrangements that we do are hymns, and most of the hymns that they're very familiar. And so he plays the part that's the melody, yeah, thank you, that everybody remembers. And then I play the part that kind of holds it up, and I will play some notes that are almost exactly the same as his. I'm just a couple of octaves down. Sarah gets to play all of the notes that make it, that give it dimension, that give it thickness, and make it sound very interesting. So what we'll do is we're going to play another song, and you can kind of listen to the sound of the wood, listen to the different parts that we play, see if you can kind of pick out what each person is playing. And at the end of that, I think we're going to open it up for questions. And you know, you guys can ask any of us any kind of question, like, I've got a hair that's falling out. That's what happens when you get older. And bows wear out after a while. All right, so y'all ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2.
Does anyone have a question for them? Make sure it's about string instruments or music. Vivian?
Is it fun to play a string instrument?
I think it's a lot of fun.
So how do you know exactly that you're playing the right notes?
I'm a hack player, and I have all my notes written in because I'm still learning. I've played by ear all my life, and I'm teaching myself how to
You
read.
can just point to ones if you want to take questions. Go ahead. If you already asked one, put your hands down, okay? So you don't have the same.
You, I guess.
What is that stick thing in your hand that you play that thing with? Yeah.
The bow. So this is it's called a bow, and it's also sometimes referred to as a stick, and it actually has horsehair on it, and you put this sticky stuff called rosin on it, and it makes it stick to the strings so that when you pull the strings, it sort of moves them a little bit. When you first hear the bow, it's kind of funny. If you try to use it, it just slides across the string. It doesn't make any noise at all. And you don't want to touch it because you get it on your fingers and then it causes all kinds of issues. But you can see on the strings, there's kind of some discoloration where, like right here, it's been, and it pulls it and lets it go a little bit at a time. It's kind of like like that. And so that's how it works. There's one way in the back here.
What is the easiest string instrument to play?
What is the easiest? I think they're all kind of equally hard. It depends on, I guess it depends on the person. I like the cello because the notes are spread out and it's easier for my hand because I have big hands. He's been playing the violin since he was really little, so his first violin was about this big. And so when he was a kid, I guess it was easy for him to do that.
I guess my notes, they aren't as close together as that, certainly as far as part.
And I think it depends on what you tune into. Some people are good with melody and some people are good with harmony, and that can affect it too. I'll do you. You're going to have to speak up. I'm old and deaf.
Why do you have to have like a little bow with instruments?
Well, the bow is what moves the string, and it's the only way really to get this kind of instrument to work. Otherwise, it's very quiet. I'll go with you.
Why are there holes in the instrument?
Say that you're going to have to be a little bit louder.
Why are there holes in the instrument?
While there are holes in the instrument.
The F holes, yeah.
Yeah, that's sort of to let it breathe, because if it was completely enclosed like a drum, when the wood is moving, you can't see it. It's more microscopic, but the wood's actually kind of doing this. And if the hole wasn't there, you'd have the whole instrument sort of, the air would be trapped inside. It allows partly it allows the sound to come out. It allows it to breathe. It makes it easier to hear a lot. It makes it a lot louder than it would be if it didn't have it. I'll take you. The blue, yeah. The blue sleeve, yeah.
I don't know, but y'all are the violin. How do y'all know what y'all are like?
How do we know what we're playing?
Yeah, like, not for the notes, like,
Where to put our fingers?
Oh, how do you know where to put your fingers? Well, if you're new to it like I am, you put little things on the neck, and like she has a couple on hers. He's been playing for so long that after a while you get to you kind of can hear what you're doing, and you've played for so long you sort of know. The guitar has frets, and so that tells you where to play on the guitar. But with orchestral instruments, when you first start out, you mark it so that you can tell where your fingers go. As a cello player, I'm not actually supposed to look because I'm supposed to be looking at my music and my hand is right here. And to look over, it's kind of awkward, but it's something that comes with time. So, and I feel like I've done this side of the room the whole time, so I'll do you because you're close here. And I can probably hear you better.
Why do you, how do you make it weird to strum it?
You mean how do I bow it? You press on the strings and you pull. Does that help you? Okay. All right. So you in the red.
So, which is the piano and the ukulele considered a string?
Both of them, yes, are considered stringed instruments. That's right. And you in the back in the black.
what do you do if you make a mistake in your performing?
Keep going. I made a couple when we were playing. Did you hear them?
Because I have a friend and he plays piano.
Well, I'll tell you like this. If you, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Please finish.
So I have a friend and her name is Summer and she has a brother and he plays piano and he was playing piano in my house and he had 0 piano lessons, but he could just play.
Yeah, some people are gifted like that, and I envy them. I really do. But what I was going to say as far as mistakes are concerned is you're going to make mistakes. I've made lots of them, and you just keep playing. The best thing you can do is pretend like it didn't happen and move forward. Because if you dwell on them, it'll ruin the rest of your performance. You in the blue.
Why did this whole thing happen instead of our normal music class?
I will defer to your teacher, and you can ask that after class. You and the wife.
Thank you.
Why is this one big? It's big because it plays the low notes. Well, we did this earlier, but let's see. Like you don't have a C, so you do a G. So I'm gonna play a G, and then you play a G. So that's the big piece of wood that you hear. You play your. That's a medium-sized piece of wood, and you play your G. Or yeah, either one. You can play the open G or a high G. So slightly, yeah. Contrast. Oh, okay. Then go down, play the high G.
Okay. That's okay.
An octave higher than the open G. Yeah. Okay. So you see how they sound different?
Yeah.
It has to-
sound bigger it's kind of like that.
Yeah, the bigger instruments are lower. The little instruments are higher. I mean, that's and then when you put them together, you get what they call a chord, and and that's what makes it sound good, makes it sound cool.
Let's take 2 more questions, Viola, and then Emmy.
Not exactly. They're these 2 instruments are actually strung with the same notes, but her notes are an octave higher than mine. Their 2 instruments are strung with almost the same strings. They have 3 in common. She has a string that's lower, and he has a string that's higher. And again, it has to do with when you put them together, you get a chord, and that's how they all work together.
And Emmy?
Are they basically like all the same, just bigger sizes?
I feel like I've answered the same question 3 times. I'm good. Well, I'm not going to make that joke. That's sort of, but not exactly. The bigger instruments have thicker strings and bigger pieces of wood, and you get a low sound. The smaller instruments have smaller pieces of wood and thinner strings, and so you get a higher sound. And the idea is the guitar has lots of strings, and you play them together to get your chord. These instruments, you all play one note at a time, and you put them together to get a whole different kind of effect.
So, yeah, and then I'll answer his question about why you're in here now and not during music. If I had you all come in music, you'd be missing all of your specials that you're supposed to be at. So we did it now. Also, she's a student here at school, so she needs to get back to French class. So we had to do it first thing so she could get back to her school. Now, he is on spring break this week, so he didn't have to miss school today. And I'm sure that Mr. Smith has work, so it just makes more sense that we did it first thing in the morning. They're going to play one more song. If you have more questions, you can ask me when you see me in music class, okay? Because we need to get going here in a few minutes. Yeah, I didn't want you to miss that, so
Okay. Now everything that I just explained is going to go to pot because we're going to do a little trick in this song.
Oh.
And in the middle of this song, they're going to swap places.
Okay.
So pay attention. He normally does the melody, and then she does the harmony. But in the middle of this song, they're going to switch. She's going to do the melody, and he's going to do a high harmony. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2.